The last few weeks we've been reflecting on this reality that the time we spend with God informs the time that we spend with our friends and our family, or even with those that we don't know. We've also been reimagining that this life with Jesus is not just a series of knowing what to do or what not to do. It's not all these decisions that we make. It's learning a whole new way of life, one that is formed over time. As we begin this journey, or continue this journey rather, we're going to hear this rhythm of Jesus a lot. Presence, formation, and then mission. It's really easy in our day and age to spend so much time focusing on mission, or this idea of mission, or even rather what God has invited us or asked us to do, that we forget that both of these things are first informed by time spent with Him, time spent in His presence. As Randy reminded us of the rhythms of Jesus, or the Jesus two-step, that Jesus would often go away to pray, even when the crowds and the people wanted His attention and they needed His healing or His words. Yet still, He escaped, whether it was late at night or early in the morning, or with the crowds pressing in, Jesus removed Himself to pray. When I think about what presence means in my own life, in my own leadership, here on campus or at home with my family, I'm reminded of this, that there's very little I can do with God or for God if I'm unaware of God at work in me and around me. And so this isn't just a mantra. It's not just the starting line. Presence is the foundation for all that we will not just do, but everything that we could imagine.
Formation is the word we use to describe who we are becoming. So who I am right now and who I'm going to be in 1 year all depends on the way I'm being formed. And this isn't something that I can change by willpower or by might, but rather by who I'm spending my time with and what I'm doing in solitude. In Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew chapters 5 through 7, He invites us into this inside look of how He engaged His own formation. These two chapters are really an invitation into a life that's quite different than the ones we live. Jesus extends the offer to pray and to fast and to be generous. And not just for the sake of proving our devotion to Him, but rather for the sake of participating in the bringing of the kingdom of God down to earth. Now, what does that mean? What does that look like? Participating in this bringing of the kingdom of God is something that shows us that God's perfect vision and mission for redemption and restoration and renewal is all something that we can engage in right now. And we can engage in it as we grow in practices of peace and patience and kindness and many more. Formation is following the way of Jesus, knowing that He's probably inviting us into something that's quite different than what we're doing now, but all for the sake of the betterment of bringing the kingdom down to earth.
Mission. Mission isn't about what we are doing. It's the continuation of God's work here on earth. It's about the restoration of a right relationship with humanity and right order in the universe. See, it's tempting to see a need, especially a desperate need, and want to be part of the solution. Yet when we look at Jesus and His followers, we believe the mission was not the beginning of the journey, but rather a fruit of spending time with God. It's a product of commitment of time, of energy, and of building relationships in such a way that our lives begin to look more like His. His was a life marked by peace and patience, by justice and mercy, by discipline and by grace. So it's a wonderful thing to have ideas to change our community and change the world. But so often we forget the cost of committing our lives to serving others.
This week I've been reflecting on the image of a tree. The strength of the tree is not in its branches or in its leaves or even in its fruit, but rather it's in the roots. And this week, we want to take time to invite you every day to seek solitude. And by doing so, our hope is that we would not just focus on the external, but rather imagine what does it look like for us to plant deep roots. I think one of the biggest challenges about solitude in our digital age is figuring out how to minimize and eliminate distractions. And so as you schedule a 5 or 10-minute window every day, I encourage you to maybe think about where you could put your phone. Maybe leave it in your dorm room and go for a walk. Maybe jump in the car and sit in the parking lot or go for a short drive. But on a college campus where our friends are everywhere, where technology in our pockets is always inviting us out of the moment, I think that's one of the best ways for us to engage in this new practice of seeking solitude. And my hope is at the end of this week, we would have fresh imagination for how we're not just trying to do life with God, but really digging deep roots that last through this season and into the next.